Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysay. I'm joined, as always, by Don Pizzette. Happy belated St. Patrick's
Day. Yeah, it's a happy green day. I assume everybody's consumed copious amounts of green beer and paid attention to major bodies of water that have been dyed green.
I'm reading a book right now called Princes of Ireland, and it's about like the history of Ireland. They just had the St. Peter chapter. Nothing about green beer, so I don't know if that's historically inaccurate or if the book is broken.
It's probably in the Lord of the Dance chapter when you get to that one.
Okay, so that came later.
The Ian Flatley. Ian Michael Flatley.
And Daniel, how are you today?
I'm contemplating whether or not Green Day named themselves after St. Patrick's Day and just some sort of obfuscation.
You know, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. We'll get to that next week.
Or not.
Probably not. I'll forget about that.
Can't wait to not do that.
Yeah. And we are joined by Eyal David. I think I said that right. I used the Hebrew pronunciation that he taught me.
Going
Correct?
fancy.
Was that close?
As close as you'll ever get.
That's all I can take.
What I heard was there's no hope
Yeah,
for
he's
you.
like, nope. And Eyal is the Chief Strategy Officer at Model9. So thank you for joining us. How you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
And we have determined that is a fake beautiful office behind you, but it does look like the Model 9 office. But normally there'd be people in those chairs and things like that. So
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully that's the plan.
One day.
Yeah.
He's going to show up to work and be like, where is everyone?
All right, well, let's get to know you a little bit more in our first segment, which is rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Eyal. In this segment, what we're going to do is throw some questions at you, rapid fire style, which means you will have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. You'll see a timer appear on your screen. If you go longer than a minute, Peter will buzz you like that, and then we'll move on to the next question. So we're going to kick off with the first question coming from who? Peter.
It's me. All right, so first, can you just kind of give us the high-level overview of Model 9, what you guys are all about there? Model 9.
Yeah, of course. So Model 9 provides the cloud data management solution for mainframe. We're all about helping customers get their mainframe data into the cloud. So mainframe data today is completely siloed off in legacy infrastructure, and it's extremely difficult to leverage it in any other way. And we help customers modernize their mainframe infrastructure, leveraging modern, scalable storage solutions, either in their private, public, or hybrid cloud, in a way that allows them to have a more flexible access to resources, better cost, better performance, and the ability to leverage that data with any kind of downstream open distributed applications, such as their data lake or their cyber resiliency or anything of that sort.
Well, that's no joke. I definitely have been around that kind of thing where Don and we worked with a company that had mainframe, and it cost tons of money.
Yeah, expensive, and you had limited clients. Like we still had dummy terminals way after we shouldn't have had those things. So
Green screens and stuff?
yeah, and it's just amazing how that hardware managed to stick around. Now, Eyal, I know you mentioned on your LinkedIn bio that it's kind of your mission to disrupt. Hang on, I'll read it right off your bio. You're on a mission to disrupt the 50-year-old mainframe industry. Absolutely true. It is certainly 50 years old, but I kind of feel like it's already disrupted pretty heavily because of distributed computing. What are you doing that's having a big impact on them?
So one thing to note and remember is that mainframe is still in mass use across the industry. Every single time, each one of us makes a phone call, transacts a credit card transaction, goes to the bank, goes to the doctor, chances are some piece of data gets written to a mainframe somewhere, especially in the large kind of Fortune 2000 companies. And they are at the same time under heavy pressure to do more with their data, to consolidate between their open systems and their existing legacy systems. And they're extremely challenged to do that because by nature, mainframe is a monolithic environment. So when we say disrupt, we mean the ability to kind of bridge that gap between the mainframe infrastructure and the open infrastructure and connect these two worlds that are hardly connected today.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the COBOL programmers I used to have to deal with, who worked on it, he was like, mainframe's never going anywhere, so just go ahead and get over it. That's never going to happen. And he kind of had a point at the time, because a lot of those mainframe, those like data formats that they use, they weren't very compatible with newer types of like server environments. How are you handling that with Model 9?
So that is a very fundamental challenge. The first thing you need to understand about, if you're coming from open systems, the first thing you need to understand about mainframe systems is that you don't know anything. And that files are actually files, backup isn't actually backup, and things work differently, because as we remember, mainframe infrastructure and architecture predates everything we know about the open systems. And Model 9 has deep expertise both in the mainframe side and in the open distributed cloud side to be able to kind of translate and transform between these two worlds. So we know how to take the data out, and we know how to make it available for open systems due to our kind of deep IP and understanding of how data is formatted, structured, manipulated, and managed on the mainframe.
So it seems like you're onto something here with Model 9, because I was reading Gartner said that more than a third of mainframe backup and archive data will be in the cloud by 2025. So based on you being in the weeds there, do you agree with that assessment? Do you think it's going to be quicker than that?
I think that it might be even quicker than that. I think that the flow of data to the cloud has started in a big way from mainframe. It started in a big way in recent years, and it's just going to accelerate. As I mentioned earlier, there is massive pressure to activate and make the data on mainframes consumable by other systems. It is completely siloed off, can't be used. So there's massive pressure to do that. The best place to use and leverage that data would be in the cloud. On the cloud, you have massive, scalable, modern analytics and AI systems that are just simply not available on the mainframe. If you push the data out there, you can leverage these modern systems in ways that are simply not available on mainframe today.
So you said the best place is the cloud, but I saw on your site that you guys also will work with backing things up on-prem. Is that the case still?
So when we say cloud, we mean kind of private, public, hybrid. We're looking at a cloud architecture. Often customers would choose to deploy an on-prem private cloud environment, or is becoming more and more common today to actually have a hybrid cloud environment where some workloads run on-prem, some workloads run on the cloud. Sometimes you do the analytics on the cloud and then you pull back the insights. And this is actually tied to our approach, where we don't like forcing their customers to choose. You're either here or there. You're either on-prem or in the public cloud. You're either on the mainframe or off the mainframe. We believe that we can support the customers by building kind of a bridge between these two worlds, allowing them to take their time, start gaining value quickly, but also reduce the risk and have a gradual process as they modernize their infrastructure.
All right, that makes sense. I think we have a better understanding of Model 9 now. So let's, while we have you here, let's talk about the big science and tech news this week in our next segment, Science and Tech News.
Stay tuned for Science and Technology. And now, back to the anchor desk.
All right, so we're looking at an article this week from datanami.com that says cloud is the new center of gravity for data warehousing, and that seemed to be right up your alley here. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this article specifically, and do you agree with that assessment that the cloud is the new center? I mean, it sounds like you do.
Definitely, and I think a key reason is that when kind of big data came to life, right? We started talking about big data, 20 years ago, and we knew it's not always about the volume. It's about the different types of data and the different kinds of data that you can leverage, but also about the volume. And since then, data volumes have just grown and grown, and it has become more apparent that where the data lives, it's easier to bring the applications, it's easier to run analytics. So once you start moving the data and consolidating it where you want to run your most demanding workloads, where you want to run your most kind of in-depth analytics and scalable processes, that's where you should have it. But one of the challenges, especially when it comes to mainframe data, that it is, as mentioned earlier, completely locked away. Sometimes, and even in physical tapes that are sitting in a bunker somewhere. And because you don't have that access, you can't run the analytics. So as we help customers move that data and basically move that center of gravity to the cloud, we enable those applications. We allow for future workloads to move to the cloud as well. But more so, we allow for the customers to have the best of both worlds in that sense. Having their mainframe applications, for now at least, run still on their mainframe infrastructure, the proven robust mainframe infrastructure that they have, but at the same time have the data live in a private or public cloud alongside the rest of their organizational data. So they have one data repository, one version of truth, and one place they need to go to start doing their advanced processing of the data.
Now, I'm curious, we focus on the data. The data is obviously the valuable part here. And when it's stored in the mainframe, it's probably stored in some proprietary format. So we get that moved out, we get it into the cloud, hopefully stored somewhere that's a little more open, accessible. Are you finding that people are having to rewrite their applications to integrate with that? Or are you actually able to just kind of redirect the existing applications? Because I know some mainframes, Daniel and I joked about dummy terminals. They were pulling their entire user interface from the mainframe. So that's something that seems like it'd be really difficult to transition across. So what does that look like from the client side?
So that's a great point, because you're touching on one of the biggest pain points that customers who have an existing mainframe infrastructure and are looking to modernize are facing. They need to undergo this massive replatform, re-architect, rewrite, or rebuild project that can take years. We're talking about projects that take 3, 5, 7 years to go through and are extremely risky as they touch kind of the core business of these customers. The core business of these banks and insurance companies and healthcare providers runs on those mainframes. So these are dangerous, risky projects. And the approach we bring to the table would allow them to move the data first without completely revamping their applications day one, start enjoying the benefits of cloud data management, and then over time make more kind of conscious, gradual decisions about what needs to live where. And yes, mainframe isn't going away that quickly. Mainframe will be a big part of the data center for quite a few more years, we believe. And the ability to have that, to live in that hybrid state while you're modernizing brings significant value to these customers as they go through these digital transformation projects.
Are there any security concerns or advantages by moving away from the mainframe and going into
Yeah, that's what I was
cloud?
wondering too, because as Don put it too, you're going from somewhere that is
kind of tightly controlled.
Yeah, really tightly controlled and putting it on the cloud. So how do you guys address that?
So what we always work with the customers is to how do we integrate well within their broader cloud strategy. If they chose to build a private cloud on-prem, that's fine. If they chose to build a public cloud on a public cloud provider, that's great as well. And we work with them in that same context, maintaining all the security and protection profiles that they had on the mainframe while managing the data on that cloud resources. So we have the ability to work with the customers within their kind of security profiles, not compromise their existing infrastructure, and put the data on the cloud. Naturally, a customer who chose to implement part of the solution in the cloud has a more broader kind of cloud security approach that we should be integrating in.
All right, I'm convinced. I have a mainframe in my eating kitchen, so I will contact you and get all that data over. So how would I go about reaching out to you if I wanted to learn more?
So first of all, the first place you should go is www.model9.io. That's our website. All of our product information, current events, our blogs. You can also check us out on our LinkedIn profile and Twitter. I want to share that some exciting things that came up last week. We announced that our solution is available on the AWS Marketplace. And stay tuned. We're also going to be available on the Azure Marketplace very soon to help customers consume the mainframe modernization side alongside their kind of existing cloud strategy. We also, if you go to our website, you can also find a recent webinar we did with the AWS QuickSight team on how to take mainframe data all the way into QuickSight for analytics. That's recorded on our website. And a few upcoming industry events with some of our on-prem partners such as Cohesity and Hitachi are coming up next month. You're welcome to join. These are very interesting solutions that can solve your problems on-prem or in the public cloud.
That's good to know too. You guys are vendor agnostic when it comes to cloud, Azure, AWS. I don't know, Google Cloud, if anyone's on there.
There's somebody.
Yes, so I won't comment on the last one, but yes, we work with all the private and public object storage providers, so we can take you to the public cloud. We can work with you on your on-prem infrastructure.
Very cool. All right, model9.io. Be sure to check that out. Well, Eyal, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the news. So stay tuned for more Technado with Don Pizzette coming up right after this.
I'm James Packer. I'm the General Manager of Kirk ISS based in the Cayman Islands. I used IT Pro TV extensively in my last place. It grew very well, helped upskill the team. I had 110 engineers in the field and we had dozens of IT Pro accounts with the guys training, and last year alone they passed over 40 certs by using the online training. I think I can safely say without IT Pro TV I wouldn't be where I was today because I only got this job on the back of the qualifications I have.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Thank you so much to Eyal David for joining us from Model9. I like what you guys are saying that, what happened with the first 8?
Models A through G.
It's like Heinz 57.
Weren't that great, but or preparations A through G. We're not that great, but preparation H feels good.
Hit the spot
on the whole.
Yeah, E hurt.
Yeah,
it did more damage than good.
Yeah.
But yeah, H nailed it.
That's it.
All right, well, let's get to the news this week, and our first article is from bleepingcomputer.com. 7-Zip developer releases the first official Linux version. Now, have there been unofficial versions to this point or workarounds?
Yeah, a lot of 7-Zip is open source, and so people have taken a stab at compiling it over into compatible Linux versions. Also, people have run it inside of Wine, so the Windows emulator, or Wine is not an emulator, whatever, but people run it that way. So this is the first time the developer themselves have actually stepped forward and said, all right, we're going to release the 7-Zip archiver to run natively on Linux. Now, if you're not familiar with 7-Zip, you probably are.
You probably don't run Windows.
Well, that's a good point, right?
Yeah.
So archives. Zips are the most common, but you get tar gzip files in Linux. You get DMG files in Mac OS or IMGs. There's all sorts of different archives. RARs, the RAR files, if you bootleg software. I don't think anybody legitimately uses RARs. But anyhow, these are all archive formats that are out there. And 7-Zip was always nice because it was free. You just go to 7-zip.org and download it on Windows, and you get a nice command line and GUI archiver that could create and extract archives. So really useful, very popular software. They also have it for Mac, but now they have it for Linux. Now, the Linux version is a command line utility, so it's not a GUI. I don't know if they're planning on doing a GUI or not in the future. But in Linux, we have a whole suite of different tools that we can use, like unzip and gzip and all those guys. So those are already there. But here it kind of rolls it all under one umbrella, which is the 7ZZ command. So you could do 7ZZ and extract just about any archive, or use 7ZZ to create just about any archive. So kind of a neat one out there if you're looking for an archiver.
Yeah, he'll definitely. Justin and I used to talk about, like, if we had your family kidnapped, guns to their head, and you've got to put in the perfect tar command, like no mistakes or they're done. I'll be like, I miss you, baby, because I'm about to mess this up horribly. And I like 7-Zip. It's been a great, I've used it in Windows when I bounce around on Windows. It's always my go-to when I'm like, hey, I need to unzip something, and God knows for whatever reason they put this in the 7-zip format, so I'm going to use that.
Now, there is a little word of caution, and Daniel, you can probably speak to this better. Archivers are kind of a sensitive thing because many of them have self-extracting archives or the ability to execute a binary from inside of the archive when you extract it. So there's a little bit of a security concern there. I don't know what security review this has gone under. And Daniel, there was some kind of bypass you were able to use to get elevated privileges through some extractor?
It was tar. Yeah,
it was tar.
Yeah,
Okay.
I used tar. Tar's got like you said, it's able to execute. You can basically say, hey, I want to like checkpoint stuff before we continue down the road. And well, how do you want me to checkpoint? Well, I want you to run this command and maybe like look at the integrity of the file or something or whatever. But it'll take any command you want. And if it's running with some sort of elevated privileges, then you can abuse those privileges, drop me a shell, and bam. So yeah, it's totally got its issues.
So be aware that it's most likely very safe to run on your desktop if that's where you're running Linux, but you might want to hold off a little bit. Just give it a couple of months to cook out there in the public before you start throwing it on your server.
Yeah, always sound advice. Never be on the bleeding edge. Always wait to see. Oh, those people they're having a bad day. Good thing I didn't do that.
So question here. I'm the kind of computer novice who, when I want to compress a file, I right-click and hit compress with the automatic one that's there.
Yep.
What is the benefit to me going out and saying, no, I want this compressed? Does it get it smaller?
Sure, yeah. Usually that's the case. RAR is a very aggressive archiver that will get the files to be pretty small. It's got one of the best compression algorithms. 7-zip also is a better, or 7Z, I think is what they call it, is a better compression algorithm, so you can get it smaller. Most people aren't worried about space these days, though.
Nah, we're good on space anymore.
I got
right?
gigs.
Drives are pretty
gigs
good.
for days.
Yeah. So at that point, they're more worried about compatibility, and that's why just regular zip or the old PK zip standard is kind of the default archive format.
So if I use 7-zip to compress it, do you need 7-zip to open
Yes.
it then? Okay.
Yep.
Or something compatible with that.
There you go.
7-zip being a great one.
All right. Yes. Compatible with itself. That's good.
Yeah, I know. It's that was a good forethought on there.
Like, we forgot to make the thing to extract it. We just
son of a bee.
Well, where I always found it valuable was like on a Mac. Because Macs would handle
right.
zip files, that was fine, but they wouldn't handle RARs, really old ARJs that I had laying around, stuff like that. And so you could just get 7-zip and you knew it could open anything.
There you go.
There you go. And now you can open anything on Linux. Congratulations. All right, our next article is from TheVerge.com. Zoom Escaper lets you sabotage your own meetings with audio problems, crying babies, and more.
I thought that was a 90s alt-rock band.
Zoom
The
Escaper?
Verge.
Oh, okay.
So, normally
That's awesome.
when we hunt for articles to report on here on Technado, we are looking for amazing technological advances. I did push the limits of our rules a little bit for this article, but I thought it was so awesome.
So now you can't get away with it because you're like exposing it.
Yeah. Well, people are reporting that they're having Zoom fatigue, right? More of us are working from home. I know I am in Zoom meetings every single day.
It just came from a Zoom meeting before we started this.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
my Mondays are literally meetings from morning until evening. That's how I spend my Mondays, and it sucks. And so somebody else thought the same thing, and they created a neat little tool that you can run on your desktop that allows you to simulate any number of reasons to get out of a Zoom call, including crying babies, bad internet connections. It can actually degrade your audio. It can create an echo.
I'm sorry, I got to run. There's
A tornado.
we're being
prison
attacked.
break. Yeah.
They're finally coming for us. Yeah.
The echo one is kind of my favorite. Like, something's wrong with my microphone. It's feeding back.
My favorite is the bottom right on this image.
Urination.
Urination. Wait, what is that? I forgot to turn off the audio when I went to the bathroom with the mic on?
No, I thought it was like I'm peeing in like a Sprite bottle here.
Yeah, do you have a stadium buddy down there?
I'm sorry, I'm being peed on right now. I need to run for this meeting.
Yep.
This is fantastic.
Construction noise.
I saw a thing the other day that was it was a meme showing like skipping school in the 90s, and it was like a kid climbing a fence. It was like skipping school today, and it was the mute button and the camera off button. Just
Camera off button.
with a little slash through it. So
Yep.
that's the new way to do it. Well, this is fun. I hate that I can't use this now because I know Don is aware of it.
Yeah. What we got to do is they need to make a plugin to where we can create our own interruptions. That would be great.
If you want to check it out, just go to zoomescaper.com. And it's a web application. You don't have to install it or anything. You can run it right from there. It does need access to your microphone in order for some of the effects to work. So again, standard privacy concerns are involved. But otherwise, it's pretty neat.
So if I could make a custom one, I would be like accidental amputation. Yeah. Oh my goodness! The neighbor just cut his hand off.
You
with
hear
a
the
table saw.
chainsaw? Yeah. So asking for a friend, but this would work on Teams then because it
does.
It
It
just
gives
goes
it
in the
hook into the
background, or
microphone,
no?
or is it like
Yeah.
a soundboard?
So it uses there's a program called VB Cable that creates a virtual audio device, like a virtual sound card on your computer. I know that works under Windows. I don't know about other operating systems, but it taps into that to create a virtual microphone.
Nice.
And so that's what you use. So it should work on Teams. I haven't tried it, but it should.
Man.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
It feels like the person that made this is like a huge fan of like Sub 7 or something. You know, like do all these crazy things to people's computer.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. I mean, out of necessity breeds invention.
That's
so
true.
We're going to have all these great tools after this pandemic is over. All right. I'm double checking today that I go in the right
you go
order.
in the right
I'm
order?
going to, I'm like,
For once.
let me
Peter
look at
loves
this.
to skip an article.
And that is correct. Ars Technica. Yep. Our next article is from Ars Technica. Apple will randomize Mac serial numbers starting this year. The new system may be more cryptic for IT users and repair shops. So right now they're just going in order as they come down the assembly line. They're just stamping the next number on it.
Yeah, so Mac serial numbers. If you just go to the store and buy one Mac, you never notice this. But if you're a company and you buy a batch of 10 or 100 Macs, you'll notice that they're all in order. The serial numbers, they come right off the batch. You can predict the upcoming serial numbers. Now, they're switching to a randomized pattern, so it won't be synchronous or all in order anymore, which the headline says, it'll be more cryptic for IT users and repair shops. Nobody cares, right? So that's not
You still
really...
double check each time, right?
Yeah, and it's still a serial number. It's not like it rolls right off your tongue.
I know.
So
I was
that
like,
doesn't matter.
I was really hoping to give a crap, Don.
But where it was a challenge is, Apple has really strict rules about virtualizing Mac OS and strict rules about running it on non-Mac hardware. So most of you have heard of Hackintoshes, where you build a computer with off-the-shelf parts and then run Mac OS on it. So Apple makes their money on the hardware, not the software, and they don't want you to do that. Also with virtual machines, where you might have a Windows machine and you're running Mac OS in a virtual machine. Again, Apple doesn't make money on that, so they don't want it to happen. Well, many people have caught wise to the fact that the serial numbers are all in order, and so they're able to guess a valid serial number of a piece of hardware that doesn't belong to them, right? That belongs to somebody else, and what do they care about somebody else? So they can recycle that serial number to create a virtual machine or to create a Hackintosh to help kind of pass some of the software checks that Apple uses. So Apple's going to use randomized serial numbers, and I haven't seen the random numbers yet to know how random it is. Microsoft did a really good job of doing that 25-digit alphanumeric code for their serial numbers for years, and nobody could figure out the pattern. Everyone wasn't a valid number. Mac serial numbers are much shorter, so I don't know how random they can be considering the volume they sell. So
They're adding emojis is what they're going to do.
That would do it, yeah.
That would be a good idea. I like emojis. You have actually solved a long mystery for me, Don, with this article. It's because I always said, man, Macs, their hardware is phenomenal. Everything about the look and the feel and the experience with the thing, it's very sturdy. Like the screen, the keyboard had its issues with that butterfly thing. That was a debacle. But the the trackpad, everything about it was really top notch. But man, does this operating system suck, right? And now I get it, right? They make money off the hardware, and they don't want you jumping the OS, so they just make it as crappy as possible. And
Well, and I think part of their
So
problem
you don't
there
want
is
to?
they've moved a lot of their developers from the Mac OS team over to the iOS team. And so you're seeing a lot of really crazy cutting-edge development happening in iOS and not in Mac OS. Yeah. It's kind
The
of
entry level
stagnated.
is Mac OS.
man, that P-list business makes me want to set a couch on fire.
Well, one thing, Apple's slogan, remember the old slogan, it just works?
Yeah.
Well,
If you know where we hid stuff.
Each version of macOS lately has been breaking things in a pretty big way. So they've been doing a lot of rapid change. There was the move to 64-bit. There was the new security sublayer. Now there's the M1
ARM,
processors.
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot in just a 6-year span. So they're really, I feel like they're pushing their limits.
Too much, too fast, yeah.
They just added a question mark to the end of that slogan. Now it just works.
There you go. Problem solved.
Well, so whenever you go into a company and you rob them, make sure you ask for the MacBooks in non-sequential numbers.
That's right.
Now, or until
a good
this
idea.
comes out. Because otherwise they'll be able to track it
They'll
down.
know.
I mean, at $2,500 a pop or whatever these things are going for, that'd be a pretty good payday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, everyone else trying to steal the data. I'll just take the actual MacBooks.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
give me that hardware, man. I'm about to be a millionaire.
Exactly. All right, our next article is from netcraft.com. 3.6 million websites taken offline after fire at OVH data centers. That's not good.
Yeah.
No, that's bad.
Isn't the point here it's like distributed on the cloud?
Sure.
But
So,
did they have like multiple fires at multiple locations?
OVH is a cloud hosting provider that is based out of France, and they have a unique model. They've actually been around for about 10 years. They operate basically with these shipping containers. So they take the shipping containers, they fill them up with 1,000 servers, and then they stack them up.
And kindling. They put
And-
kindling under.
Well, you know, I mean, if you think about it, the shipping container is metal.
Yeah.
The servers are metal, so there's not a whole lot of flammable material here. But they built out that data
Something was
center
flammable.
several times. So they actually had 4 data centers that were in one physical location, and that's not uncommon. Like Amazon does that, right? So if you look at US East, you have US East 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. So there's 5 data centers that are all right next to each other. So that's what OVH was doing. They had 4 data centers all right next to each other, and a fire broke out. Right. And I'm not talking about a little fire. Like if you Google and look at the pictures, it's a total towering inferno. Like Steve McQueen is climbing up this building. It's in bad shape. So it completely took out 2 of their data centers, damaged a third. Their 4th data center was actually unharmed, but it was a massive fire. And basically when people move to the cloud, they trust the cloud providers to provide a lot of things that they don't have, like better physical security and fire suppression and redundancy and so on. And OVH did a lot of that, right? But a physical location is a physical location, and something can wipe it out. And so we got a quick glimpse last week of what it looks like when people put all of their services in one data center and don't distribute out. So you end up with a massive outage like this. Now, most of these companies do have backups or were replicating somewhere else and brought their sites back up somewhere else. But it does highlight the weakness. And we're only now getting details out. One of the founders of OVH has put forth his theory, which is not he doesn't have the evidence to back this, but they had just the day before done some massive maintenance on some of their UPS units, their power supply, uninterruptible power supplies. And for a data center, these aren't like our normal UPS that you stick under your desk or takes up 3U in a rack. These are massive UPSs with tons of car batteries and things like that strung in serial. And so he really suspects that one of those is what started the fire. And that means it wasn't a normal fire, it was a chemical fire.
Right.
And that's why it was able to spread through all of these shipping containers and effectively destroy it.
I think he's just got a bunch of gambling debts. Now he's going to get an insurance payout.
Yeah, he just added that new insurance plan the day before.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then we switched out those UPSs, and lo and behold, the fire started.
You know, I know you're joking, but at the
Yes.
same time, we've seen so much weird
This
stuff.
does kinda happen.
Like with Bitcoin and all that.
You got to think these people are engineers, right? Their job is to outthink problems, and if he's got a massive gambling debt issue, he's going to outthink that problem.
OVH has been known to host illegal content. They have been known to. They have a number of command and control servers that have been hosted out of their data center. They've not really acted to remove, so they have come under some scrutiny over the years. It's a possibility. I mean, if they were doing something nefarious, because you hear about these Bitcoin exchanges where like, oh, hackers just stole $5 billion.
And by hackers, I mean me.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks later, why does the CEO have $2 billion in Bitcoin? Where'd that come from?
So I can't do a French gangster accent, but I'm sure it was like, it'd be a shame if something would have happened to all your servers here.
Yeah. Really break my heart to see that.
There probably is a way to say that with a French accent,
Yeah.
but
We.
it would just sound romantic.
Yeah, man, the way you threaten me just gets me right here.
No one takes me seriously.
So anyhow, the lesson here is if you use a cloud provider, remember that no one is infallible, that a data center can just be destroyed. So you need to make sure you have some geo redundancy baked into your solution when it makes economical sense. It doesn't make sense for everybody, right? If you're down for 2 days, does that shut your company down? Many companies can withstand a 2-day outage. So keep that in mind.
Can you ask for like a map of the data center and be like, hey, I've got my all my data here, and I want to have a backup. I want to make sure it's on the other side of the facility.
Yeah, or like, so I'm looking at the map here, and I notice you've got a bin for oily rags.
It's cheaper to be on that server. Is what you're telling me?
Is that how that goes?
That's weird. All right,
Fact.
Yeah.
that all checks out. All right, our next article is back over at arstechnica.com. Hackers access security cameras inside Cloudflare, jails, and hospitals. The cloud-based camera service Verkada exposed hard-coded passwords and its customers. So did this happen prior to the Cloudflare issues? Or no, I'm thinking I'm mixing up SolarWinds.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
So,
That would have been bad.
I had never heard of, I don't know if it's Verkada or Verkada, either way.
A million of these.
You're not supposed to have
manufacturers
heard of them, I think.
I had not heard of them until November of last year, where their ads, somehow I got, marketing people tag you, and somehow I got tagged, and so I was seeing Verkada advertisements everywhere. And, they were a Silicon Valley startup. They had received funding, a couple of rounds of funding, I believe. So, just building up and working in that IP camera space. And we've talked about it on Technado over the years. Like, IP cameras are a target. They're IoT things that when they're compromised, they give people a foothold and potentially the ability to watch and listen to things that are going on around them.
Crazy voyeurs out there.
Yeah, it's bad stuff. Well, Verkada first made it into the news when it turned out that their sales manager was using the cameras to rank their female employees' beauty, as well as to berate people on the length of their bathroom visits. So that's
frowned upon in polite society.
Yeah, that was their scandal at the end of last year. So that kind of put them on the radar. But this one's bigger. Basically, they had a test or research server of some sort that they exposed to the internet. Hackers were able to get into it and find where it had hard-coded admin credentials, which then worked on the production system, which then gave them full access to Verkada's network, which means anybody who had Verkada cameras, they technically had access. And they are finding where they accessed many cameras at Tesla's factories, or as Peter says, at Tesla's factories.
Is that wrong?
Listen, Nikolai would slap you in the mouth.
I'm saying the name of the company, not the dude.
So they're able to look at those cameras at jails, hospitals. I mean, there were tons of companies. Because this is a Silicon Valley darling,
Like
right?
gaining
talking about
access
PII,
to your own, what is it, 90 Days In or whatever that show is?
Yeah.
Watching the jail cameras.
I don't need to watch their show. I got
I got it
own
right here.
This guy's got 90
He's getting
days.
ready to get stuck with a shiv.
So, the lesson here, I think, is just because somebody's a Silicon Valley darling doesn't necessarily mean they're doing things right. And even some of the big players, like, people forget Slack. Slack is this trusted chat platform. Everybody loves it. But I think it was their second year of business. They got completely 100% total hacked. User passwords, chat history, everything.
It was great.
Total compromise. Silicon Valley darling.
Yeah.
And so that allowed them to survive that controversy. I don't know, because Verkada is coming off of the back of another controversy, I don't know how well they'll survive this one.
Yeah, I'm starting to just, like, in my mind wonder, what was the bigger security issue? The fact that they hard-coded creds, or that they had an internal server that someone said, you know what I need to do? Point it toward the internet. And, I feel like that was probably the bigger faux pas than it was, because if it is internal, then you're less likely for a problem if you're hard-coding creds into something, just because it's not looking at anything. No one's going to access it except someone that's already internal. But as soon as you flip that, let's do the internet thing switch, now you've got a tire fire of an issue.
And I think for people that buy a cheap Chinese camera off of Amazon, they expect it to be vulnerable,
right.
at least to some
Well,
degree.
if you've got the creds, you don't even need to hack the thing. You just now have access.
Yeah. But when it's a camera out of a U.S. company based out of Silicon Valley, I think we give them a little more benefit of the doubt, and this shows us we should not.
Right. Zero trust environments, right? That's what it's all about. I was seeing somebody was saying that they've decided from now on, for every single thing that they sign up for, they will create a new email address with its own password that's going to be like LastPass generated or whatever. So every single login will have a different email address, different thing. And I'm like, that's a super secure environment. It's kind of a managerial nightmare, but
it is, but it also has the added benefit that you can figure out who's reselling your information.
That's true.
When you start getting ads on an address that you only used at Netflix, then you know that's where it came from.
Yeah, stick in Netflix.
Yeah. Well, hey.
All right.
I like it.
This is the kind of problem that just changing their name will fix, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All of a sudden, there would be some new camera manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what airlines do, right? When they have a
Yeah.
crash, they just change their name.
Yeah, was it ValueJet?
AirTran.
Became AirTran or vice versa?
Yeah, I don't remember the order.
Yeah. All right, fun one. All right, our next article is another fun one, and this is in our segment That Makes No Sense.
You make no sense.
It make no sense. It make no sense. It make no sense.
What you talking about, Willis?
All right, and we use this this segment for our articles where the headline you just read and go, do what? So this one is from PCMag.com. Panasonic made a companion robot that farts. All right, so
Yep.
I read this article assuming it was like, oh, well, they have this toy that does all these things and it happens to fart too, and I just picked that because it's clickbait. It really just seems like this doesn't do much but fart.
Still not as dumb as a Nifty.
Yeah, we were talking about those offline.
We're going to do a special episode on NFTs. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, this so it's just like a toy, a pet, a virtual pet, essentially. What are those, Tamagotchis and things like that?
Yeah,
But
I remember
so
those.
This one just sits there, doesn't move, stationary. I can look around and say some phrases, but then
In Japanese, right?
Yeah.
It's all Japanese.
yeah, but then it just you know.
There you go. So, you mentioned Tamagotchis. I had explained that to my oldest son. He's 12, and he said, I want to try that. And so I went. They still sell them.
You still get them.
And so I got a official Tamagotchi. I think it cost $15. It lasted about a day. And he's like, Dad, this thing whines a lot. Like it's constantly fed. Well, that's how we keep you alive.
Yeah, but you did that.
Yeah, but I'm real, Dad. I'm a real boy.
But I think this thing. What is it even called? Nikobo.
Nikobo, yeah.
So this little robot, I think, highlights some of the real problems we have with IoT and e-waste and just the crap that we buy.
Yeah. Like, why are we building this?
Because it's not just a ball that farts, right? It actually is internet connected.
It's an internet
But
connected
all
ball
it does,
that farts.
is you pick it up and you pet it or whatever, and it responds by farting on you.
well, there you go.
From time to time, not every time. Obviously.
We found this article last week
Right,
because it
in
was
the
suggested.
WTF.
What was it suggested off of? What
That
were we
was
talking about?
we were talking about the would you get a tattoo?
Oh, a tattoo
from a
from a
robot.
robot.
And when I saw the suggested articles down at the bottom, it was like robot that farts.
And it's funny, when I was looking
Yeah.
at this last night, I was looking at the suggested articles from here, and Panasonic also has this wearable device that is basically just like the blinders you put on a horse.
Okay.
You just stick it around you, and it's got headphones built in as well. And so you can focus, or I could walk by and go, "Oh, Daniel's trying to focus right now." I
Oh,
won't
like
mess with him.
I'm plugged in.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
we're
in the zone.
Probably, I mean, that would kind of be helpful in the open environment that we have. Like
the article
around
pointed out how much
Yeah.
you look like an idiot.
here.
in
I'm
it.
sure you
There's
do.
that.
But
Or
Pan-
you could just give everybody cubicles or offices. That would be
Right, but I want to know who's making these decisions at Panasonic to be like,
Well-
all right, fart and robot work. Let's work on the
So
human blinders now.
In their defense, it's not like one of their executives came down and said, "That's it, it's fartbot time," right? Somebody in their
that would be
research
awesome.
lab floated this as an idea, and so they posted it on a crowdfunding platform. That's harder to say than it should be. Not Kickstarter. It's one that's apparently more popular over in Asia. I do not know how to say it. Makuwak?
Where's it at?
Nailed it.
makuake.com. Maki.
Makuwake.
Makuwa. Is that Hawaiian?
Yeah, no, it's that's Japanese.
Melikaliki.
Well, there we go. So anyhow, they put it on there. They their goal was to raise, I believe it was 10 million yen, which I don't know what that is.
$95,000. It says.
All right, so $95,000 in order to make
US.
a fart bot, and they got it. It's 115% funded. So they just floated it out here as like, this might be a bad idea. Well, people said no, it's a great idea. We love it.
I don't know why, but I see some crazy Texan is the head of Panasonic, and he ran across this Makuwake platform and was like, "Man, this thing's amazing. You know what I need, boys? I need me that farting robot, make it happen." That's the business meeting in my mind. For
It kind of makes me want to see what's the dumbest idea I could get to float on Kickstarter. But the problem would be I wouldn't want to float something dumb out and it makes it, and then I actually
You're
have
like,
to
oh,
grab
yeah,
the
I gotta make
product.
this now.
let's make a ham and cheese sandwich that throws up or something, spits the ham and cheese out, and makes a pukey noise.
There you go.
Well, here's the worst thing about this product. It has a $10 a month subscription.
Oh,
What?
So this is a SaaS thing?
I didn't see that.
It's at the very
my
bottom.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, there it
It
is.
says one thing that holds back sales is the need to pay a
After
$10
the first
monthly
6
subscription after the first 6 months, so it can get regular software updates, so it can have different sounds. Like I don't.
Yeah. Well, you got to get like the wet farts, the really firecrackery farts.
Oh man.
All right. Well, there we go. So this is our society, and our IoT stuff is just causing the general decline of civilization. And combine this with nifties, like Daniel mentioned, and I think we're all doomed.
We should pick a good article
apocalypse.
about those next week. I mean, we should have talked about there was that big JPEG that sold for like $60-something million.
Maybe we can just next week we'll do a special on.
The heck is trying JPEGs for $60 million?
Idiots.
I'll make you one right now.
Millennials.
You tell me what you want, I'll build it.
Those damn millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're-
Yeah.
Ruining everything.
Yeah, and old Jack Dempsey has the first tweet. Nifty is up for auction. I think it's
So
over
I did see
2.5
that.
million
I didn't
now.
know that was what was considered. I'm new to the Nifty scene, everyone. So
Good.
Um,
Total
Congrats.
BS.
yeah, sounds like
But
it.
I do like your idea, Technado Nifties.
Yeah, hey, turn 'em
This
up.
is a dumb idea. We should do that.
If anyone in the comments, let us know what from this episode you would like to buy for $1 million, and
Yeah,
we will
sell it to you right now.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. $5?
$5,
We'll take it.
Well, I'll make a GIF of it for $5. I
Yeah.
can do that. It's pretty easy. I will say though, we joked last week about Don made the comment, "Oh, our 10 listeners," blah blah blah. We had a bunch of people let us know that they're one of those 10 listeners.
All 2 of
and
them?
it seemed like more than 10, maybe. I gotta
It's
go
the
back
same
and do the
person with
math.
different accounts.
Right, there's that guy that has a different email address for each
Yeah,
thing.
right. Like, oh crap,
Like,
I've logged into this thing
He
like 12
subscribed 10
different ways.
times, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you to him. All right, want to let you know about a couple things coming up. First of which involves Daniel here. We've got a webinar on Thursday, March 25th, the top 5 CTFs to learn cybersecurity, gaming your way to a hacking career. That will be Daniel and John Hammond, 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, March 25th.
What's happening?
You're going to do a webinar
Oh yeah.
with John
Actually, it's gonna be pretty
Hammond.
rad. I can't wait for that. John is a super cool guy, super smart dude. Got some great YouTube content. So I've followed him for quite some time. So I was pretty thrilled to hear that we were gonna have the opportunity to have a conversation with him about CTFs. He does a lot of CTF stuff and posts about it. So it's gonna be great to see how you can utilize what he thinks is gonna be really cool platforms to help you empower yourself into your career. So
Head
great
to
stuff.
itpro.tv/webinars to register for that one or any of the upcoming or past webinars that we've had. I used to play a lot of Capture the Flag in Boy Scouts growing up, so I'm sure I'll understand everything that's going
No,
on.
you had a hacking team in your Boy Scouts.
No, this was in the woods.
I believe it's just the Scouts now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that right?
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah,
I'm unaffiliated.
Eagle Scout right here.
Wow.
Yeah, trustworthy, loyal,
Hardcore.
Yeah.
helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Well, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Also have a March free weekend coming up. That is the 20th and 21st of this month, and it is Cisco. We've got Cisco CCNA, Cyber Ops Associate, CCNP, a bunch of different courses there. DevNet Associate, all for free this month.
I thought you were talking about the bum wine.
What?
Cisco, you don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah.
no.
Oh, apparently never mind about my past.
I made a lot of thong song jokes.
Oh, that's
yeah,
Cisco.
during,
yeah.
but like
Oh,
ahead of the webinar with
Man,
Ronnie and
do
David
not
Bumble.
Put that in my head. That
Neither
stupid
of them
song.
knew what I was talking about.
I will. That's gonna like haunt me now.
Or
I'm
the
gonna
food
sing.
services company.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, apparently the thong song didn't make it across the pond to David Bumble.
Oh man, he
so
missed out.
I gotta send that over to him.
Ah, he's done. He's done
Yeah.
like dinner.
And finally, why don't you head over to go.itpro.tv/Technado. There you can get a 30% off coupon code for the lifetime of your personal plan. And you can also request a team trial and learn all about the great features like the Pro Portal that are available to teams so that they can watch and learn with IT Pro TV. That's at go.itpro.tv/Technado. There you go. Woohoo. That's everything.
There it is.
All right, thank you so much to Eyal David from Model 9.
Switched up to the English version of his name.
Yeah, because this is America. And he's not here anymore to fight me with his Mossad.
He will kill you dead.
With bare hands.
That's right. Put you with those other bodies he's buried.
Yeah, his actual bare hands.
Yeah.
There. All right. Well, happy St. Pat's Day, and we will see you guys next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.